Notepad, and we want this one right here. So Notepad, not Notepad Plus. So open this one up. And then as soon as you guys do this, go to Format and make sure Word Wrap is selected. So that's Windows users. Got it? So again, Notepad, not Notepad++. If you're on a Mac, I can't show it to you, but there's a couple of things I need for you to do. So in Mac, if you're opening up Text Edit, I'm going to talk you through this, but you got to do it right now. I'm trying to go from memory here. So go to Preferences. So open Text Edit. Go to Preferences. And tell me your options. I'm probably going to ask somebody to share your screen. So I'm going to stop sharing. Here's my screen. So I'm going to back up a little bit and maybe explain better. Let me hide some of my controls. Again, don't put stuff in the chat. We won't be able to see it. You need to speak up if you have something to say. All right, so I'm hiding my controls. So the first thing we talked about today was HTML, what it is, so hypertext markup language. So if I ask you, what does HTML mean? You should be able to tell me that.
Can you say it again?
Hypertext markup language. HTML. And then if I ask you what is it used for, in your own words, we talked about, I talked about it gives a structure and meaning to content, right? So it makes a website look a certain way. So I'm probably not gonna be giving you multiple choice because I want you to tell me back what you got out of it. Because multiple choice is somebody else's words. All right, so we will not be doing multiple choice. So that's HTML. I'm probably going to ask you what CSS mean. The cascading style sheets. I will ask you what's the 3 different kinds. And then in your own words, explain to me what they are and when you would use them. So we talked about the first one, which is rarely used, which is inline. So inline that's where you put it on every line. And I give an example of if you had 50,000 lines of code and you had to change it 500 places, for example, when there was no other option, that was the best way to go. So you can make certain things bold by doing that. So that was inline. Then I talked about internal style sheet. So internal is where you create it, and I will show you guys example. You create your style sheets in the top of your document of your web page. And then you call the different pieces you need. So if you had 50 header ones and you created a style for header 1, every time you call that style, it will apply that style to it. And that was a much better solution. And then the third one I talked about was the external one, which is the most popular and widely used now, and the one that's recommended. We had the upside of the inline, and that was you were basically making changes to one place and it was populating every place else. The downside is if you had multiple websites, you had to do it for every website. So then we had external CSS. And this is where you created one form, one style, and put all of your different styles inside of that. And then all of your websites would link to that and take the style they need. So you can have a document, think of a dictionary, And then the files, the web pages will link to the dictionary and only take the piece that they want. So you're not going to take everything unless you want everything. The advantages to that is if you created one document, you can populate as many websites with the information as you want. To make changes, you're only making change to one place for many websites. And this is the one that's most popular in use. I will show you guys examples of all three. Any question on HTML, what it means, cascading style sheets in the three different kinds? Hypertext markup language. So H is hyper, T is text, M is markup, L is language.
Thank you.
And then cascading style sheet, C is cascading, S is style, S is sheets. And then after that, the first thing I talked about was what. So on the board that you guys are seeing, examples would be the A, div, span, EM, and P. That's the element. The way you can identify them is they come along with tags. So A here is the element. So the stuff inside is the element. But then tags are used in conjunction with elements. And you usually will see these with the less than and greater angle brackets surrounding by elements. Most of the time, or almost always exclusively, you will see pairs of tags. So for example, if you looked at the first one here, what is the element in the first line? The A, and the A basically, in this case, means an anchor. But the tag is, if you notice, the element and the anchor tags kind of go together. So if you want to know what the element is, it's the stuff inside of the curve, the less than or greater than brackets. But then the elements and the tags kind of go together. So here is the element is span, but the tags are open span, close span with the less than and greater than parentheses with the end tags. So tags will usually have opening tags and close tags. And I have two examples of an opening anchor tag and a closed anchor tag. An opening span tag and an opening and a closing span tag. And then the last one, so I told you guys we're going to talk about the three most popular, right? So we will talk about elements, tags, and the last one is attributes. Before we move on, do you guys have any question on what a tag is? Or I'm sorry, what an element is? Let's do that one first. So if I ask you to tell me what an element is, you should be able to tell me what an element is and give me an example or two. Does anyone have any question what a tag is? So a tag is basically used to, along with elements, and you will see them with less than and greater than signs, and their surrounding elements. So that's the tag. And then you should be able to give me examples. Tags will always come in pairs. Will you get errors sometimes? No, but is it right to do it without opening and closing? It's incorrect. So it's incomplete if you have an opening tag and not a closed tag. The last one, so we should be able to define those and give me examples. The last one is attributes. So attributes are properties that give you additional information about the elements. So attributes, right, are basically properties that give you additional information about the elements. So here's an example. So I'm going to use all three things we just talked about to write the next one. So I'm going to use a tag. So I'm going to start with the less than sign, and I'm going to do an anchor element, and I'm going to use an attribute, and that is an attribute. So the href is one of the most popular attribute, and basically what this is saying, it's referencing a website. So let's say I wanted to go a website, and we will do links to website. I might go to http://amazon.com. And I am gonna close. So that would be an example. However, if I did this on a site and we will actually do one of these, you don't see anything, but the link is invisible. So to make a link invisible, what you end up seeing is people typing the words. And we'll talk about this. Yeah, I'll use this one. So I told you guys that elements and tags go in pair. What should I type here? I'm closing this out. What goes with the open element tag A? There you go. So if we will do one of these, and we'll give you examples of how to do anchoring documents in a moment. So usually if you see this, you're looking at Amazon.com, and then you guys see the word Amazon, and you move your mouse over it, and its hand shows up. And on the bottom of your screen, when you go to a website, it'll show you what the link is. All right? However, as a hacker, I can say my site. I can say best site. I can say anything I want. So what you guys will, this is what you see, because the website is, the website is going to say the reference stuff in here, don't show this, show this. So lots of times when you see the name of a website or name of a link, that doesn't necessarily correspond to the website. And that's how hackers fool people, because they will give you a link and says something, but then it goes someplace else. So the way, and we will show you guys that example and how do you guys do one. So the way to know that is if you put your hands over the mouse, and we will do it in a little bit when we program a link, because we haven't done one yet. If you put your hands over it, it will actually go and it'll show you where that goes. All right, so again, attributes are defined. So what I'm doing is I'm using this attribute right here, the href attribute. And there's a few popular ones. This is one of the more popular ones. Other ones would be like the ID attribute, class, that classifies an element, src. Here's an example of another one. So popular ones are href, ID, src, source. So these are just examples of some really popular ones. So if I ask you what an attribute is, you should be able to tell me what an attribute is and give me an example. And tell me what the example is used for. Right? So the href is to reference a website. It's referencing something else. An ID is to identify, and an src is a source. So it will kind of go someplace. So if we were to talk about these individually, I'm highlighting, what am I highlighting? Element, attribute, or tag? That is a element, right? So that's the element. Tell me, what am I highlighting?
The tag.
Tag.
Tag, right? So that's the tag. So link to a website will have all three, and this would be my attribute. So if I ask you to identify the different pieces, again, no multiple choice on these. You gotta tell me what these different pieces are. I need for you to know the stuff, not to tell me what somebody else said. Lots of times people can be wrong. And if the source is credible, you believe it, right? If a teacher tells you something, you will most likely believe it, right? That is true. But what if the information that the teacher has is incorrect, right? So then you're getting incorrect information and you're believing it's true. Does that make sense? So oftentimes, and even sometimes, information you guys are correct, but at the point in time, it's incorrect. So for example, let's say we're talking about some theory that we have, and we think we know what the theory is. And then in the future, we prove that theory is wrong. And you thought that what was wrong was how you thought it was correct. So you thought it was the right way, but based on the information we have, we're like, oh, no, you're wrong. So things can change. So the attribute for all of this, I would say, is all of this information. Because what it's doing, it's defining the href. So href will go with something else. Any questions? So we got elements, tags, and attributes. We know what all the different pieces are. And let's write some code.
I have a question.
Ask away.
What does attributes mean again?
So can someone tell us attributes? Right, so attributes are properties that give you additional information about the elements. So for example, the element here was the A. So this href is giving us more information about this anchor tag. So it's saying this anchor tag belongs to Amazon. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like the information you guys get today is good stuff. It's not in the text. It might be in textbooks. I don't know. Maybe you guys can write a textbook after today. All right, so let's write some code. So I'm going to erase all of these. Does anyone need any of this information or example before I erase? Because I'm going to erase them all, and they're going to go bye-bye. So I'm going to write some codes. I want you guys to write with me. We're going to validate it. I'm going to write some stuff incorrectly on purpose, and when we validate it, we'll fix it. So you know what should happen. So all documents that are posted online starts off with an HTML tag with an element inside. So I'm going to start off a document with this, and I'm going to go HTML. And that's how I open the element and I close. And then I need to have, I'm going to make some space, and I need to have a closing one. Yeah, just repeat what I have. So we're going to basically create a document. Let me just hide my menu. All right, so again, every HTML file will start off with an element, which is HTML, and it has a tag, so open and close tag. So they go in pairs. Some other stuff. So inside of that, think of you're writing a document and you have a header, right? So documents will have header. So the tag for that is, the element is head. And we're gonna open and close that. So you should start seeing some patterns. Inside of the head, so think of the HTML would be, if you were thinking of this as a person, it'd be from the tippy top of your here to the bottom of your, underneath your foot. That's your HTML. And then in the upper part of your body, you have your head. So that's what this piece is. Underneath the head is your rest of your body. So this is our body tag. So body element with a tag, right? So we're gonna do body. And if we have an opening, we will have a
Closing.
the reason we're using Notepad and text edit, it's simpler to get you started. And once you understand it, we can switch over to something else. Like other things will tell you what line of codes and everything. So I'm gonna space some of these out. So here's my body. And I'm gonna space the head out a little bit. So inside of the head, there's gonna be a couple of things. So think about your head, right? You have like your mouth, your nose. There are stuff that goes inside of that. So here's one. We're gonna do a title. So the title is what your website will show up as when you go to that page. So I've got a title tag here and an end title. All right, so we got an opening element and tag and a closing element and tag. Then we have a header and we closed it. Inside of the header, we have a title and we closed it. And then beyond that, we have a body. So your body has a bunch of stuff inside, right? So this is where your content is gonna go. It's just like when you're writing a document, people will say, well, what's your header? What's your title? What's your body? And the body is where you put your stuff inside. So inside of the body, we're gonna put some stuff in here. So let's talk about a couple of these before you go. So the first one we're gonna put in here is a header. So a header is kind of like what you start off your paragraph with. So let's do one of these. So we'll do a header. H1 is the element. And to save space, what I'm gonna do, guys, and you guys don't have to do this, I'm gonna kind of put some of these in the same line. So they will look like this for me to save space so we don't have to, so I don't have to scroll so much. So we will actually make a page that says hello, which is the most popular. This is the first page that anyone ever makes. So we'll keep it the same. Hello world. If you've ever programmed, it's the first code you write to do hello world. So this is the title. So when we go to this web page, you will see in the top, it will say hello world as the title. So the next one I'm started talking about is the header. So there are different sizes of header, and we're gonna play around with these in a moment. So we're gonna do a header 1, and I have to close it, right? And then I'm gonna write my content inside. So I'm gonna say, this is a header 1. And to save space, so I don't have to scroll so much, I just have this so you guys can see. I'm gonna bump this up for space, so it'll look like that. So there's about 6 different kinds of header, and we're gonna look at examples. And I wanna show you instead of explaining, okay? So I'm not gonna put the rest here, let me just show you what this does. So right now we have the HTML, we have headers, we have titles, we have a body. We put a header inside, And the last thing we want to put in here is, when you're writing stuff after a header, what do you write next? If you're writing a letter or anything. Paragraph. So we're going to put the paragraph element, but it needs to go with the, what do they always go with? Starts with a T? Tags. So we're going to do a paragraph, which is one of the most popular. So this will be below H1. So after the closing one. So the closing one is just my header. So underneath my header is my paragraph. So I'm going to do an open and close here. And this is where I'm going to type content. So if I want to have a bunch of content, I can be like, that's one paragraph. And this is another paragraph. So I'm just going to put 2 here for now. And then we will kind of test this out in a moment. And this is where my content's going to go. So I'm going to say, this is my first paragraph. And then for this one, I'm going to say, this is my second paragraph. So this is where I'm putting content. I am going to put a different header here so we can see the difference. So for this one, I'm going to work smart. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put it right here. And for this one, I'm going to make it an H2 so you guys can see the difference. And I'm going to say this is my header 2. So we have a bunch of content in here. We have everything we need. So that's what we want to see right now. All right, do we have this? So please make sure you have this. The thing about doing hands-on, you have to keep up. If you're behind, you need to stop me. Once you get lost, it's hard to catch back up. So please do not let me move forward unless you've caught up. We'll have the class help you. So are we all at this point? Is there anyone that needs for us to wait? Online? Speak. Again, don't put in the chat. You got to speak if you want me to pause. You good? You guys are all good? All right, so let's see what this looks like on a browser. I know there's errors here, so we'll fix them in a minute. All right, so we're going to do File, Save As, and then we're going to give this thing a name. I also need for you guys to make a folder someplace. So I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to do this on my desktop. So wherever you want a folder, make a new folder. I'm going to call this Web Tutorial. Whatever you want to call it, but you need to know where you save this. TOT. You don't have to change anything else. So I made a folder in my desktop. So we're going to put everything in the folder. If you don't put stuff in the folder, they're going to get lost. So like when we do images, they all need to be together. So we will make a subfolder for images, for example. And then once you have this, hit save. Again, if you're a Mac user, there should be a checkbox to remove the RTF extension file. Otherwise, it's going to be weird in a moment for you. And you'll be like, Mr. Ayub, it's not working. Let's see how, so I got 3 Mac users. Let's see how many of you, don't be afraid to say it's not working so we can help you out. So I'm going to hit the save button on here. Have you all saved it? All right, so I'm going to minimize. And then remember I did mine on my desktop. So I'm going to look for my folder that I call web tutorial, if I can find it. Somebody help me find this folder.
It's to your left.
To my left. There we go. So I'm going to open up my folder. Thank you very much. And I'm going to double click on this and let's see what happens. Look. What do you know? It should open up in a web browser because we basically says this document is a HTML file, so it's got to be open up in a web browser. So notice you don't see any of the codes. So I'm going to do something for you guys. I'm going to split my screen. Yes. You can just save it in. So if you're on a school computer, it might not let you do it on the desktop, but you can do it in documents. So what I've done is a split screen for you guys to see what it looks like on a web browser. So this is what we see on a website. But look at all the stuff right here. And then notice the title, we call it Hello World. Look at the top of the web page. It says, yeah. Say that again. Because you did you save this as .html? Remember, the file name has to be .html. So I call this first .html. And if you don't do that, then you will not know that it's an HTML file. You good? So whatever you want, like I call mine first .html. So you want the file extension. Remember, file extensions let programs know which application to open. So we're basically saying an HTML is a web browser. So we're going to make some change to this so you can see the live update on this. That's why I'm doing this. So let's say you wanted to change the title and you didn't like Hello World and you want to say my first web page. Let me hide my control here again. So let's change that. So again, change the title. And again, if you're looking up here, the title's right here. And if I do file, save, and I refresh, notice the new change says my first web. So when people go to certain websites, that's what you would see. When you go to like a website and you click on another page, you can have multiple pages linked to a site, and this is how they can kind of keep track of what page are you on. When you guys go to a website, you are tracked how long you're on a page. That's valuable information for a company to know. Like, if you are interested in stuff on a page, you will stay on that page longer. If you leave the page faster, you're not interested in that content. So that's valuable information for companies to know.
Wait, Mr. Ayub, can you go over how to save on the Mac again real quick?
So I'm gonna pause. Let's do that. So I'm gonna have one of you guys share your screen. Go to a save option for me, Maddie. Right. So on the bottom here, scroll down a little bit. We want to keep the text code. Tell me what you see, Maddie. You got to talk to me so we can walk people through this.
Oh, sorry. So I have my save as top.
Right, so save as, and then it says plain text encoding, right? We want to keep that, and then what's next?
I got rid of the TXT because that's where it's the standard it will put it at. So I put it in as HTML.
Right.
And then you just save it to where you.
Did yours work when you did it?
It did. Once I saved it, it
Right, so there you go.
And
So when you guys hit the save, you want to say use HTML, you want to remove the .txt or .rtf. That's for Mac users. And when you say use HTML, it's going to basically have the file open up in a browser. So thanks, Maddie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's go through this again. So what we have in the code, it says my first web page. So why don't you guys go ahead and change that again and hit file, save, and refresh, and you will see the name of the page. So I'm doing this way for you guys right now, but usually what will happen is when we publish this online, we will actually change this file name. The first main page of all sites should be called index.html, but we're not doing it here. Okay, so again, so if you want to make a note of that someplace. So usually the main page of any website should be named index, index.html. We're not doing it here. But when you do a site, I want you to make your first page that index, that's your home page. So make a note of that someplace. And then when you have other pages, you could be like, this is my about page, or this is my list page, or my image page, whatever you want to call those. So let's make some changes and see what happens. So we have this here that says, this is my first paragraph. What if you say, this is my first paragraph, and this is easy, exclamation. All right, so I add this, and this is easy, exclamation. So make a change to one of the content in the paragraph. You can write anything you want. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say file, save. And I'm gonna refresh this. By the way, Control R, there's a refresh as well, or Command R on a Mac. So if I hit refresh, you notice the change. So make a change to your second paragraph. Let's see if you guys know how to do that. So make a change, save it, hit refresh. So take a moment to do that. So I want to give you a chance to practice. It's one thing for people to teach you, but if you don't practice, you're not going to remember. A lot of this stuff, I'm out of breath. It's going to be like, hey, there's some problems here. It's kind of like you're speaking slang or you're speaking text and people are not understanding what you're saying, but we know what you're trying to say. So what it's going to do, it's going to be like, hey, what's going on? So what we want to do is I want you guys to open up a new window. So I hit the plus and I'm going to type HTML validator. And we're going to find a validator. So, and I'm going to grab this one. So you're going to go to this website. So all I did was I opened a new window and I typed HTML validator because we wanted to validate this web page. And there's one here that's really popular that I use a lot. So we're going to pick this first one. And so this is validator.w3.org. And I'm going to wait for you guys to get there. Would you guys like for me to do that again? Don't tell me it's blocked. Please don't tell me it's blocked. It's not blocked, right?
It's blocked for me.
Oh. I'm going to show you what this does. I'm going to try to get it unblocked then. So if you're on your... So what it means is it's blocked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a request to get this unblocked. No wonder that nobody posted anything. So all these classes that have been teaching, maybe they teach you how to do it. You just can't do it, which is not cool, right? So I'll get this unblocked. So I'm gonna validate this file. I'm gonna have you guys make some changes to it. So we can validate by URL. URLs are website addresses. We can validate by a file upload or a direct input. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a file. If you have your own computer, you can follow along with me. The rest of you guys we will unblock. So I'm gonna click on file upload. So watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna hit choose file. And then I need to find that file. So I have it on my desktop. And then I have it in this folder that's called web tutorial. And it's called first. So I'm gonna open that and I'm gonna say check. And it's got 3 errors. That's not good. So you should have, if you have exactly what I have, you should have 3 errors. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix each one of these errors. So let's start with the last one. It says number 3, error. And it's telling you from line 1. All right, so line 1 is right up here. That's your line 1 right there. That's where your first error is. So basically what it's saying is doc type is not, it's expecting something called a doc type. So prior to when we change, people got away with this, but now we can't get away with this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this, make this correct. So we're gonna type exclamation doc type space HTML. Yeah, just put it the way I have it. I'm just repeating what this thing tells me. So it's telling me from line 1, column 1 to line 1. So it's only in line 1. So if you notice, this element is what I'm putting in here. So that first line, we made the change, we add this to it. So then go ahead and hit File, Save. And then I'm gonna run my test again. See if I got rid of that one. So if you're at home, File, Save. You gotta choose this file again. Select, open, check. And now it went away. Right? So if you guys are home and you're able to check it, that should have gone away. Now we have 2. So what you want to remember is when you're posting a website, always validate before you post your final, because there's going to be errors on there. Can I move on? So you all have doc type on the top. So let's look at the next one. It says, the next one is a warning. Number 1 says, warning. Consider adding a lang attribute to the HTML start tag to declare the language of this document. So basically what it's doing is it's not screaming at me, but it's just kind of saying like, hey, right now, I understand that you're using English, but why don't you just put English? This way, if you put it on any other web server in a different country, it understand what language you're gonna use. That makes sense what I'm saying? So we're gonna do that. So right underneath this line, I left a space here just on purpose. We're gonna tell it that. So we're gonna say HTML lang. So the language of this HTML is, in quotes, EN. So EN is English. And I'm gonna leave it like that. And I'm gonna save. I'll scroll back up for you guys in a minute. By the way, I have another error in here that I did on purpose. I was hoping somebody caught me at it, but we'll see. All right, so here's what I added, right? So this is gonna hopefully get rid of this error that says the language error. So I'm gonna save this, so file save. I'm gonna go choose my file again. And let's see if it got rid of my error. Oh, look at that. Now I got more errors. So you guys think you see my error? Look at what these says. The first one here, number 1, is a previous error. So I made a mistake on purpose and it gave me 3 errors. Can you guys tell what my error is? Look at the code. I forgot to put the greater than sign right here, and that's what's giving me all this grief. It's even telling you right here, saw, less than, right? When expecting an attribute name, probable cause missing, closing immediately before. And it's telling me at line 3, column 1. So right here, that's what I'm missing. And that's what's giving me all this other stuff in here. So fix, we're gonna do file, save, and then I'm gonna choose it again, and check. So got rid of it. So we got one last one that we haven't declared. So character encoding is like code you speak, like lingo you speak. So lots of times we can get away with it because people try to figure out what you're talking about or what you're saying. So what would be better is for us to declare whatever encoding we're using. And the way we do that is we're gonna write that inside of the header. So right here, I'm gonna put a space inside of my header. Is that rain? Might be raining, right? So we're gonna say meta char set, so character set equals, and this is the code we're using, UTF-8. And I'm good to go now, right? I can save. I'm gonna space it so you guys can see. What's wrong? Right, if I didn't
close it?
Yep, if I didn't close, I'll get like a whole bunch of errors again. So close it. So this is gonna take care of this character encoding not declare. So now I'm declaring it. So I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna choose my file. So you gotta choose every time. And check it. And when you get something like this in green, green means good, right? Or go? We're good. Document check completed, no errors or warning to show. We'll talk about that later on. I like where you're going. All right, so I'll give you guys a moment to kind of play around with this for now. So again, we updated this line. If you're on a school computer, we updated that line. We updated this line. And then we added this other one. So you want to make sure all three of these in here. I'm gonna put my spaces back, remove my spaces so people can kind of get to see what these are. I'm gonna bring this font size down a little bit, so let's see if I can get it all in one page for you guys. There you go. Yes. Spaces are just easier to read it. Because when we use certain programs, they will have line codes. So you'll be like, oh, line 5. So for right now, it's better for breaking things out to have space. I'm just putting them here to kind of, for example, right? If I broke apart the header, I went like this, then you know which piece was the header. Good. And if I did the same thing with the title, so I'm gonna break the title out and there. So when I'm looking for certain pieces, it's easier for me to find them. Okay? So I'm just removing that so it's easier for you guys to read. So please don't do what I do what I said. Because I'm doing it this way so it's easier for you guys to see my whole page. So you do want to break the things out. So other things you would want to break out is, so we'll put these together like these. So if this is a header, I probably would break that out. And these are together. So things are easier to read. So you know that's, and maybe I would even break this out so I can find it better. So if I was breaking this out, I go, here's my header, and I go to this. So sometimes it's not what's right or wrong, just practice that people use. Are there any questions on anything we learned today? So we talked about HTML, cascading style sheets. We will actually do some. We talked about elements, tags, and attributes. You guys should be able to give me examples of these. And then we actually created a page with content. We did headers. So why don't you guys go ahead and add a header 3. Add another, you don't even need a paragraph. Add another header 3. Add a header 3, add a header 4, 5, and 6. There's 6. And then show that and see what that looks like. So if you would like, so one of the mistakes people make is something like this. So I'm gonna do a bunch of these. So I'm just gonna work smart here. All right, I've just copied and paste. I'm gonna say header 3, 4. So you get to see what they all look like. 5. How many did I say there were?
6.
Somebody was paying attention. So let's do all 6 so you get to see what they look like. All right, so make sure these match up. Let's save it. And I'm gonna go to the page and hit refresh, and there you go. That's what they look like. So notice the header 1 is the biggest, the header 6 is the smallest. Please make sure you save your stuff because we will continue with what we have. I don't want you to start over. So did we learn some stuff, new stuff today? Are there any questions for me?
Could you show the whole thing?
So I'm gonna remove this so you guys can see the whole thing. So I'm gonna hit the delete on that. You should be able to see it now, right? So that's the whole thing.
Thank you.
If I put this in, you won't be able to see it. So for you guys, add these so you get to see what they look like. And save your stuff. I'm gonna end here. I'll take any questions you guys have. And then tomorrow, I thought we were gonna go like fast. But I actually like the pace we're doing. This way you guys get a chance to practice it. Because I can go really fast and be done in one class. And then you'd be like, don't remember it because you never did it. So we're gonna end here. So please save what you have. Next time, I know Colin in class asked about styling. Let's start styling it next time. Okay? So we'll put some colors in to the headers. So we'll style these up. So we'll look at style sheets. So I'll do an inline, I'll do an internal, and then I'll do an external. So we'll do all 3.